you in your career, research endeavors. It has helped me a lot. By studying the history, what has happened in the past, I was in a position to understand better what may happen in the future. And I try to translate the messages that I read through the literature into what might happen in my discipline in the future. And this is because I decided to follow this approach again, becoming a specialist without losing my opportunity to be a generalist at the same time. And this helped me to identify potential avenues, potential opportunities, new dimensions in my discipline. Allow me to open a parenthesis on this. As I said, I'm a sports scientist with specialization in exercise physiology, but a few years ago, I realized that artificial intelligence is going to be a very big thing in every domain. Then, together with my colleagues, we pursued a systematic review on this domain, and we published the very first article, I believe, on the use of artificial intelligence in sports. This article has received many citations and many reads. And I think, besides the fact that I had the opportunity to have excellent teammates, was this approach that I always followed in my life. Not to forget that we need also to be a specialist, but generalists at the same time. I decided, as I said, to pursue further studies abroad. I must admit that I had no money to go abroad. So I decided to sit for the national examinations. At that stage, in my country, we had national examinations for 1 or 2 scholars to study abroad in every single discipline or in certain disciplines. So I sat for these examinations. I managed to achieve high, and I got the scholarship, and that's how I made it happen. So the message for the students, for the undergraduate, but also for the graduate student is aim high, try to overcome the barriers. There are always barriers, might be financial barriers, might be family-related barriers, might be other barriers. Try to find a way and make it happen. I decided to go to my top-class university. I did also like a second degree there. I did a master's degree. Then I returned to my country, and I pursued, in conjunction with the university abroad, a PhD degree. My very first study was part of my PhD degree. It was the very first study was part of my master's degree. It was published in 1998, but the next research endeavor was the PhD study. And I must tell you that at that time, before 2000, I was in a laboratory, not a world-known university. It was a new laboratory in my country with people who had passion and dedication. That was the right environment to have research projects. And that's how we started. We started from zero, from scratch. We managed to publish a couple of studies in high impact factor journals, which help you to become known in the scientific community. But there, at this stage of my career, I learned how to build projects from the scratch. I didn't know how to do it. I went to a lab, let me say again, not a prestigious lab, with just the necessary equipment and some resources, but we had good ideas and a lot of dedication and passion. So I remember spending the weekends there, working in the laboratory. After some years, I stayed in this laboratory for 17 years. So I followed the long pathway as a PhD student, then as a research associate, then I moved into the faculty position, 17 years. That's a long pathway. But then I decided that I need to pursue another opportunity. I was forced actually to do so, to be honest, because is sometimes the circumstances outside our microenvironment might send a signal that we need to change. And for those of you who may not be aware, at that time in Europe, and especially in my country, we had a very big financial crisis. So I said it's better to change before others force me to change. So that's another message for the students. It's better to change before the circumstances force us to change. I was very fortunate all these years, of course, to be connected also with the industry, I must say. I was not only in the first part of my career, I was focusing on the university, on the laboratory work, 100% focused on this dimension. After some stage, I was honored to be offered the position to become the head of performance and sports science in a very big football club. I pursued this opportunity, and what I have learned there is that it's good if we can listen to what the society needs. So that's where I learned that in order to become better scientists, we need to try to solve problems that the people around us have, the problems of the society, not answering our own questions, but trying to understand what the society needs. This has helped me a lot from that point onward. And I've been involved into this partnership with the non-academic world, the organizations that we call them as an industry. That's the big category. I've been involved heavily in the last, I would say, 15 years. And they helped me a lot because they gave me another dimension of thinking. They're thinking slightly different to what we are thinking within the academia, and they are focusing a lot on solution-seeking approaches and not on project development for the sake of delivering a project, if I may say. They want solutions. They want to see the impact on the ground. That's what they are asking. And this has shaped my career significantly, because from that point onward, I started always, when I was working on a project, I was always thinking, how would the end user think about this? Or, and if I may share with you, I always get the end users involved in the project. So before I design a project with my colleagues, we want to hear from the end users. What do you think? Does it work? Or what are your needs? And that's, I believe, that's another key element that I have learned all these years. And what I have learned is working with real world projects. If we focus more on working with real world projects, I believe this can help our career significantly. I'm very happy after this long journey. I must tell you that I've been outside my country as a professional for the past more than 10 years in many places in the world. The last place I was before I come here was in China. What a fantastic opportunity. There I learned how to collaborate with other people who might be having a different culture, completely different culture to what I was used to. And what I try to do with the people there, and I have to acknowledge their significant contribution also in my career, is that I believe we should try to put ourselves in their shoes. And if I can translate this into research endeavors, again, I would like to convey the same message. Is the project that we are planning, or is the research question that we are setting of significance for the society? Is it gonna help the people around you to become better, or the society to become better? Trying to understand the people is very important. So after this long journey, I'm here. I must say a very big thank you as the first part of my introduction also to the UA University. I'm very happy to be here. I'm in a wonderful place, in a wonderful college, the College of Education. And I would like to thank all of you for the warm environment that you have created here. And I think this is the right environment for our students to pursue further studies and explore their research projects. I think there is the right environment here to make world-class projects. Many thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so I made a few notes so that we could start our conversation. As noted earlier, I will first ask Dr. George a few questions and then open it up to everyone else. Okay, so first question, Dr. George, and Najla has been wonderful in also transcribing a few of your life lessons, as well as the book that you cited. She also shared the link to Amazon, actually, by David Epstein. So one question would be, who would be the most influential mentor that you've had when you were a graduate student? Kind of like the mentor who set your research trajectory.
I believe I have the two mentors in my graduate studies. One in the University of Loughborough, my supervisor for my master's degree in the University of Loughborough, and then my supervisor for my PhD degree in the University of Athens. They have taught me many courses. I never forget these courses. I had also, if I may say, people who I perceive them as mentors, people that have inspired me. I can remember one teacher in my last 2 years in the high school. He was he's an amazing teacher. He has given to me this fire to search, investigate, find out what is happening, and reading behind the lines. That's what he has taught me. So I would say these 3 persons have been very inspirational.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. George. Another question. You mentioned earlier that one of the key factors that made you the academic that you are now has to do with your collaborations and finding, you said, finding excellent teammates, right? So I'm sure our graduate students are wondering, what makes for an excellent teammate? What should they look for?
That's a good one. So you mean if someone is seeking for it?
Yeah, collaboration.
I would say first is the fire inside. We are looking for persons who have fire inside. Not necessarily for people who have high academic records. So if let's say I'm a graduate student and I want to collaborate with another student or a young faculty member, it is not always the best criteria to look for only for the records. It's looking for the fire inside. is the person having fire inside? If there is fire inside, things will happen. If we are consistent, so the next thing is this person that I'm gonna collaborate with is consistent in his behavior, in his action? And then it's about trust. Trust and trust. Trust is a cornerstone in any kind of collaboration. That's what makes a good team instead of a group. Team is built around the trust. Group is a gathering of people not necessarily connected with the trust bonds. What is trust? I don't know, you know better, you have studied, you have explored this. I can say from my experience, trust is about looking to the eyes of other people, understanding each other without saying many words, or as we say, you are on the same wavelength and you are doing things for the team that can also improve your career, but they can also have impact to the people around you. I believe that's how. What do you think? How do we build trust? What is trust? To me, it's fundamental. If there's no trust, there is no successful project. How can we build trust? Being together, being honest, being as much transparent as possible. We are human beings, of course. We are not. I mean, we have our own way of thinking. We should accept this. Trying to put ourselves in the other positions, trying to put ourselves and understand that the other person is having a need as well. And without saying a lot, delivering the message, yes, I do understand that you have also your own needs. I respect this. I can put my ego a little bit behind. So trust is also about suppressing a little bit our egos. And again, we are human. What do you think? You have the expertise. Let's chat about this. Is a big ego the thing that is the barrier to build trustful relationships?
I agree.
So now I'm asking.
I agree. Yeah. So building trust will definitely take time. And I think we are starting with that, given our face-to-face interactions now. I think that also sort of makes us able to look each other in the eye, like you mentioned, and just having faith and humility, that sense of humility is very important. And intellectual courage is what I'm also hearing in terms of just finding what are the problems that we're solving in society and just having the courage to also go for it. Okay, so my final question has to do with what Dr. George also mentioned earlier about it's better to change before circumstances force us to change. And I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Hala, our dean, who is now with us. Yay, Dr. Hala is here. Okay, so given changes that might potentially happen, you know, in the academia and how things are always in flux, how things are very dynamic, always in motion. Perhaps our graduate students would like to know other career paths or options that are open to them aside from being in the academy or aside from being in university. And I think you're the perfect person to ask because you were not just involved, you know, in universities, but also outside the academy. And I'm sure they would love to hear those kinds of opportunities.
Thank you. Thank you. I would say, yes, I'm not a typical, if I may say.
Right? Yeah.
For those who don't know more, I'm also in the industry. I managed to get an MBA as well, because I've been in a leadership position for many years. If I may say, as an advice to graduate students, that without forcing myself, that's the pathway I pursued in my life. when I started my studies, both the first degree as well as the graduate studies, I had no plan of what I'm gonna do in the future. I was not saying that I'm gonna do necessarily this thing. I had one plan: to learn more. And I must tell you, just to give you an example, that I had prescribed to many journals. At that time, we've been receiving the journals in hard copies. I'm an old generation guy. Okay, so we had been receiving them in hard copies. So I had prescribed to 2-3 journals for my discipline, but I had also prescribed to Scientific American, to National Geographic, again, this issue, specialist versus generalist, but also is I wanted to learn. I wanted to learn. I had not a specific aim that I will be doing this. I wanted to learn. And that's the path I followed in my career. And I was ready to get out of my comfort zone. I was very flexible. So when I understood that the circumstances are not good and there is no way out for my career, there's no position, let's say, in academia or whatever, I said, okay, let's try a different pathway. As long as someone is undertaking the graduate studies in order to become better as a person and acquire more knowledge, I believe she or he is going to have the necessary tools in the toolkit to tackle every single situation. If you are asking me now about the how things are might be in the academia in the future or so, I believe we cannot all become academics. There are very limited positions, first thing. So we need to be ready for the future. Second thing, if I may say, we might be in the near future in a position to say that the academics need also to have a better understanding of the market. Is this happening? It is happening. So it's good for the graduate students to keep an eye on what is happening out there in the industry. If they don't find a position in academia, they might find a position in the industry, or if they find a position in the academia, they might be able to build better projects with the industry. So I see many benefits. So keep your eyes open.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so thank you so much, Dr.
You're welcome.
George. So Hawa has the microphone for anyone who would like to ask questions. We need to use the microphone, unfortunately, so that people who are joining us on Zoom would be able to hear you if you have questions. So the floor is now open. Any comments?
We have an
Dr.
online
Shashi?
question.
So I will go to you, Najla, for the online question. Let's hear Dr. Shashi first, and Wang Yu also has another question, and then I'll go to you.
Thank you, Professor. Session. So my question to you is, how do you balance your disciplinary and also interdisciplinary collaboration and beyond disciplinary boundary to develop yourself as a successful, let's say, a successful person in the career?
Thank you very much. That's a very good question as well. Allow me to say that I started my career by being very focused in my discipline. And I would say I started from the bench in the laboratory using pipettes. So for you to understand how long I have traveled so far, and from there I have not shifted. I'm not using this this word. I believe that my career has evolved, has taken a slightly different pathway because I decided through this. I had this mentality of being specialist without losing your generalist approach. And this has helped me throughout these years to understand that in order to find a solution for my discipline, I need to think about the interaction. I need to think about the other factors. For instance, I come from the exercise physiology background, so I used to make studies on how the fitness of the athlete is improving the ability to run fast for a long time. But after being in the industry, and through my interaction with the coaches and the athletes, what I understood is that it is also the willingness, it's not only the biological markers that will determine how far you can go. It's also about the mental markers, how far you want to go. So it's about motivation, it's about mental toughness. And then we published, I remember the very first study back in 2007 with the psychologist, how the mental toughness in some indicators can affect the ability to perform high intensity exercises for long. And now I'm collaborating a lot with other disciplines, with data scientists, which are not the core of my studies and my specialization. And by using different approach and working as a team, we can tackle a problem from different angles. And I believe this is another element that has made our paper of some interest.
If I may add, perhaps in 2023, you will have another publication with another psychologist.
Looking forward,
Okay.
and with more people.
Yes.
You know
indeed.
that I have also interest in leadership, and
Exactly.
and again, and I have a lot of interest into this domain as well, because I believe in order to fulfill our potential as athletes, let's say, or as sportsmen or sportswomen, which is the core business of my studies, we need to have the right environment around us. So, of course, the leadership style is affecting the performance.
Correct.
Of course, the mentality is affecting the performance.
The dynamism.
How can I ignore these elements? So instead of becoming too much specialist and studying the cells, which I respect all these studies, and I respect the people out there that are doing fantastic work, but I decided to take another different pathway with full respect to other people and try to integrate the various disciplines around this topic.
Okay, so Wang Yu and then Najla, you will go live, okay? Wang Yu. Miss Hawa, is Hawa? Yeah, you can give her the microphone.
Thank you, Professor. Actually, I'm very curious about your experience in China, because I'm also Chinese. And also, we are talking about the multicultural teaching with Dr. Lara. I want to ask about if there's some problem or
Challenges.
or barriers that occur when you are teaching with a different country students. What's the problem for barriers of you to interact with them?
Thank you very much, and nice to know that you are from China. Ni hao. 我很高兴的认识你。I'm very glad to hear, of course, that there are challenges even if you teach a class in your country.
That's true.
We are all different. This challenge is much bigger when you teach to another country, and this becomes more complicated when you teach a multicultural class. How can you find a pathway to make it happen? Be patient and consistent. Try to understand your students. That's from the side of a teacher. If I may offer my experience to you, seeking collaborations as graduate student, I would say be calm, better to be patient, understand that people have goodwill, but they may not be able to understand your culture. And I'm confident with with the consistency in behavior and with the nice, gentle approach, you will fine-tune your relationship in order not to be communicating at exactly the same wavelength, but within a certain range of wavelength.
If I may add as well, and based on what Dr. George has also mentioned earlier, it's the willingness to learn. It's the willingness to also, know people other than themselves, other than, people coming from their own culture, which is helpful, which is what we have been discussing in class, right? Okay, so Najla, your turn now, you're up.
Thank you, Dr. George, for sharing your experience. And we have a question from Miriam who says, regarding making changes before you are forced to change, do you think that individuals with a multicultural life experience or diaspora background are quicker to make such changes?
That's it?
Yes, this is the question.
Thank you very much. Is becoming a hot topic, this change. Judging from the question that I'm receiving. I believe it's, you learn this. I cannot say you from my experience that I was comfortable with the change until about 20 years ago. So I would say before, if I'm thinking loudly, I was not very much used. Nobody likes to change, to be honest. Nobody likes. Okay. But then as I started getting more experience, I think for sure it will help if you get more multinational experience, as you mentioned. So I hope I answer also the first part of your question. Yes, if you meet more people, if you visit more places, then you start thinking in a different way. If you read more, if you are exposed to new ideas more, if you try to read behind the lines, that's another key element, that's another ability that you might practice, read behind the lines, then you may be in a position to push yourself outside your comfort zone more often. Because evolution or achievement to me is about putting yourself outside your comfort zone. If you feel that you are undertaking a task that is fine, I can tell you, yes, it is fine, and you are going to achieve what the rest of the people are going to achieve. If you want to become a high performer, you need to do other things. If you want to achieve higher, then you need to do what the rest of the people, what only 10% of the people are willing to do. And this is getting out of your comfort zone quite often. This creates problems as well, I must admit. It's not an easy task, but you can try. It's a learning process. You try, you find your balance, you come back into your comfort zone again, you get out of your comfort zone again. The key thing is that high performance means being outside your comfort zone very, very often.
Okay. Any other questions? I'd also like to add that Dr. George is not only an outstanding academic, he also practices what he preaches, because he runs practically every day. And I think in our conversation earlier, I hope you can still hear me, Najla. I think our battery is running out in this wireless microphone.
No, voice is clear.
Still clear. Okay. So he mentioned that a lot of the things that he writes, or he kind of like drafts his manuscripts while running. So maybe you could tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, I think now I have to wear the hat of the physical education and sports scientist and say to you that when you are doing exercise, the blood flow in the brain increases substantially. And this helps. We are not brighter people. We are just practicing, we are doing exercise. And this helps us to keep our brain healthy. And for those that are online, this is what we are practicing every Monday now. With my colleagues in the College of Education, we have created a football team, and that's what we're aiming at. We increase our blood flow in the brain, so next day we become better faculty members, better professionals, and we can deliver better messages for our students. I think, yes, when I go out, it's the way for me to think, and then when I get back home, I start making the notes, and this has happened to many ideas that I have shared with my colleagues. But allow me to say here that I believe that many people have bright ideas when they listen to the music or they go for a run. Many people. What I have learned in these years of my career is that do it, just do it.
Nike.
Nike, just do it. It's not the idea that counts, it's the action that we are taking.
Great. So if you are under the mistaken notion that academics are just nerds reading books, so please banish that thought away, because they're also runners. They're football players. Some of them are basketball players too. Mark plays basketball. So any other questions from the audience here? And Najla, if there are questions from your side as well, or even just comments. We have a very quiet crowd who's waiting for the, refreshments that's available there at the back. Questions? No questions from you? Najla, any other questions?
So far, no questions, but I did have a comment that said that they enjoy that this is a high flex event where they can join online or on site, so they're appreciative of that. And another comment that this is very inspirational as well, from Sana.
Great.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So questions from our heads of department who have joined us. I think I see one head of department. Okay, Dr. Mohammed, I think a few of the graduate students here are from your department too.
Thank you, Dr. George. This is a great presentation. And I think we are really practicing. Thank you, Dr. George. And thank you for the idea of coming up with the idea of having us gathered every Monday. I like this. I think this is a great opportunity together to know each other, especially for those who are new ones, just join us. Also, to know who's good.
Competitive.
And actually, what I like also about Dr. Georges is that he gave us also such a warm-up session. It was a great warm-up session. I really liked that session. It's more kind of professional.
Wow.
I know the next day we had a pain. And now we talk a little bit. I just want to see on what kind of approach you talked about this. You said leadership is important in order to accomplish. And I would like to elaborate a little bit more so I can understand where you come from.
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, thank you for being a teammate. Okay, and also thank you for proposing to organize the session like this. So you should know that the person behind this idea is also Dr. Mohammed, to make it a little bit more organized. But that's teamwork. I think that's how we behave in this football team that we have created. So I believe leadership is about showing the way to your colleagues and creating the opportunities for them to explore their talent. You are better than me on this because you are experts in this domain. So that means that it can apply in every discipline. I learned this as a young student, I had limited exposure to this because I was interacting with my supervisor and my colleagues in the laboratory. But then when I became a professor and enjoyed and as a staff member, a very big club, then I see how leadership is in a high performance environment. And then I had this opportunity to see this in other opportunities in other countries. It's about creating the opportunities and for the people to explore their talent and identify the areas that you can get involved in order to excel in the future. So let's say leadership for the graduate students, if they want to practice leadership in their own setting, in their own microenvironment, how to manage yourself and your career. The first thing is what you want to do in your career. The second thing, but keeping, as said, many options open. The second thing is, all right, you want to pursue in an academia related more to research. All right. What is the next big thing in your discipline? Why should the people pay attention into what you are producing? If you try to make decisions based on the current circumstances, you may not be able to excel after 5 years because the world is changing. And after 5 years, what we are producing now is going to be non-relevant. I learned this lesson through my interaction in the industry. You know, I was involved in a football team, and my interaction there with I was the head of sports science, and I was trying to convince the coaches that, okay, we are working with youth, young players. But if we train the young players to become players of this time, with the methods that we are using now, we don't prepare them for the future. After 5 years, football or sport is going to be different. So we need to reinvent ourselves and implement new methods today, not tomorrow. So translating this into science, try to build a project that will be relevant in 3 years' time. Now, you might say to me, can we forecast the future? No, of course we cannot. We cannot forecast the future. But we can describe a pathway how the future might look like. And if we are lucky enough, we get better chances. If I may say, I never counted my citations. I never counted.
Wow.
So I did not describe my pathway based on citations. And the papers that have received a lot of citations are the papers that came through out of this mindset. We wanted to do something for the people and something that will be relevant for the future as well. Otherwise, nobody's gonna pay attention, or very few people will pay attention. Will stay relevant. Right, so our football team is the team of the future. Do you agree? No other colleges have created teams. We are the team of the future.
Yes. Yeah. They will join tournaments very soon, I'm sure, international tournaments. So you have to find the fire within you, graduate students, and don't really just, like what Dr. George mentioned, it's not just about the citation, it's not just about the numbers, but it's about pursuing that which gives that fire within you, and then everything else will, inshallah, follow, right? Other questions, comments, insights? Najla? Anything from online?
They're just, being very appreciative of Dr. George's life tips and enjoying the, hybrid high flex, the way that, the way the program is, because, a lot of them don't live in Al Ain as well.
That's true.
And one is saying that they will keep in mind to look for people who have fire inside. The comment is from Asma.
We are also very happy that you are very appreciative because it's very, very difficult organizing this. It is absolutely no joke, and Aisha has been wonderful in providing the tripod and everything, and Hawa has also been very tireless in just following up with UOD and everybody else. Okay, so no other questions? If there are no more questions, then let's enjoy the refreshments, please, and let's still talk and chat with each other and let's catch up with each other. All right? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mara. Thank you, Mr. Thank you, everyone.
And okay, before we adjourn, so maybe Nachla, you could share your screen and I will share mine too. This is the perfect time to also invite you to an upcoming talk, another Hyperflex event that we will have on the 5th of October, a few weeks from now. Real world impact versus impact factor, choosing meaning over metrics with Dr. Mark Gilpin, who will be our guest speaker. So it's really meant to kind of like go side by side, right? Okay, so we really look forward to having you there again. Okay, thank you, and please make sure that you also respond to the feedback form because we need that for our influence. So please make sure that you scan the QR code or just look. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Let's enjoy the food.